Welcome. Wow. This is a special show. And I'm going to wait for a few people to stream in, and then we'll talk about why. It's a very, very special show. And the reason why, well, I'll wait. I'll wait. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks, actually, just to say the least. But we won't talk about that. We'll talk about other more interesting things when you guys get here. But it's interesting because when I first started doing this show, we used to be late all the time. I'd always get, the first show I think started like 35 minutes late, and I thought everybody would leave. And then I got on there, and there was so many. Hey, Tina, how are you? You're number one. I love that today, at least over here on YouTube, and I'm sure we have a lot of our friends already. Actually, let me see how. Let me see if I can see my friends on Instagram. Normally I just usually go. There you go. Okay, so we got everybody. So we are. It's going to be a great show. Hey, Darlene. That's my family right there. How's Boston? I heard the East Coast has been kind of cool though. I have some friends over in the Hamptons I talked to last week, and they were looking forward to spending a good part of their July in the Hamptons. They get there and the weather's all murky, and they're like, So hopefully it gets a little bit better on the East Coast. As always, it's nice over here and warm and beautiful. But I'll tell you, Los Angeles has its good and bad, but one of the most amazing things is the weather. I really love the weather down here. It's just so beautiful, and I think the only weather that this resembles that I've been in the world is maybe Sydney. I mean, Sydney is a really gorgeous place, and the weather is really it's no humidity. It's really. Do we have an Instagram live?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So because I can't see it on here, let me. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. All right. So let me just turn. There's a little bit of a lag, and that's why. Okay, so I'm going to jump in real quick, and I will talk about it's raining in Boston. Yikes, man, that's sad. It never rains in California, which means we never have good water. Our water is always murky, but it's we like our weather still though. It's nice. It never gets too hot, never gets too cold, so to speak. So today is the season finale of season number 2. It is the last show for a while. I'm going to be taking a little break because I have so many things to do. But first, let's recap a little bit of what we've studied over the last 2 years. I've had this show for almost 2 years. In season 1, we talked so much about investing. It was about the time the recession started. Just so you remember, I started the Wealth Demystified because I felt there were too many people who couldn't afford a financial advisor, didn't know how to pick a financial advisor they could trust, and they also have needs. As a financial advisor, the last 18 years, I worked with very, very wealthy people. I mean, for many of you who know my background, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. Came here 30 years ago. And, was transitional for a while. Homeless is what that means. Looking for a way to figure things out. Had 3 jobs and finally got into Harvard Business School. Then went to Wall Street with $125,000 in student debt. And I finally, was able to pay off my debt because on Wall Street, you make a lot of money. I made a lot of money representing some of the largest companies in the world. Basically doing mergers, acquisitions, corporate finance transactions, IPOs, debt financing, structured deals, and all sorts of stuff for big companies, $billion deals. And I decided to leave 18 years ago, started my own practice, grew my business all around the country in New York and Texas and California, and decided to consolidate, in California a few years ago. And we're doing great. And I look back one day and I decided I left too many people behind. And I needed to make a difference in people's lives. And so I decided, I would tackle some of the biggest problems in our country. Well, I'll get to that. So I started Wealth Demystified to help those people who get left behind. There's, a lot of, I think the statistics are 15% of the poverty rate in America is dramatic, and it's mostly by race. 15% of Black people are poor, 18% of Hispanics are poor. That's underneath the federal poverty level. And I wanted to try to help those people. And then there's a lot of poor white people too. So it's not just racial, but there's a lot more minorities who, as a percentage, that are poor. So I decided to give you as much information as I could in order to help lift you from wherever you are, whether you're in the under the poverty level, you're a middle class person, you're lower upper middle class, or even if you're wealthy. I work with wealthy people, and I help them lift. Go from 10 million to 15 million, or go from 50 million to 60 million. And I also work with people who make 50,000 to help them grow to 70,000. That's what I'm doing with you. That's what I started the show, and it's been a journey. Season 1, we talked about everything finance and investments, stocks, bonds, options. I showed you how to pick a good stock. I showed you whether or not you should buy a bond. I talked about life insurance and annuities. Are they good things? What are the different types of life insurance? I gave you a lot of motivational themes, the secrets of very wealthy people. There's certain habits you don't. I was talking to a coach of University of Arizona, the Wildcats, a few weeks ago. We had dinner, the former coach. And, she won a championship, and we had a conversation, and I asked her, I said, the kids you've met and you've mentored and you've trained and you've gotten to championship level, college championship level, what is it? How would you weigh it? Talent versus hard work? She said, undoubtedly it's hard work. Talent will only get you so far. Hard work is what propels you to stardom. And so I talked about the some of the habits like hard work, and resilience and never giving up, and so on and so forth, of the secrets of very wealthy people. I also talked about what a recession meant. I before the recession happened, I talked about the recession that was going to happen. During the recession, when people were selling, stock market went down 30%. I told you that the worst thing you could do during a recession when stocks are dropping is for you to sell. And I would encourage you to buy. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram and YouTube, well, of course YouTube, because you're here, Facebook, you'll see a lot of the things I said. So it's very, very important for people to hold on. And the stock market came back, and so I guided you through that. Well, we started season 2. Season 2 was a different mix, and this is season 2, where this is the 19th episode of season 2. What did we talk about? Woo! How to build good credit, how to pick a good bank. We talked about your emergency fund, how to bulletproof your emergency fund, how to start a business, the best type of new business to start, where to get financing for your new business. We talked about the best investment you could buy. We talked about the worst investment you could buy. We talked about ways to eliminate your debt, particularly your student debt. I talked to you about ways to get scholarships and grants. I talked to you about ways to enrich your life. I talked about ways to break the chains that keep you down, the chains that hold you, that separate you from happiness, that cycle of poverty that starts with great-grandma, that goes to grandma, then that goes to mom, and that is probably some of us watching today. I showed you the ways to break those chains. Now it's time for me to go for the next few months and spend a lot of time on actually doing some of those things. As many of you know, I created a company called Suchi. And the intent of Suchi is to break these chains of student debt. We have too many people who have been left behind. Many of these people, many kids can't go to college because it's too expensive. And many kids are actually thinking about not going to college, not because they don't want to go to college, because they can't afford it. I hear about IRR. Is the rate of return worth it? I mean, for us to be even thinking about the rate of return of college, the benefit of college is much, much more than money. So a big part of what I created Suchi for is to make sure by 2031, the next 10 years, no child ever again has to take out student debt. I created an application. You can go online and find it. It's called Suchi. And we keep improving it. We keep improving it to make it such a great app that everybody loves it. So to create access and also for affordability, the crowdfunding platform where instead of people giving toys for birthdays, they can put that money into the college plan to help the child. So that's one of the things I'm going to be focusing on the next few months before season 3. The next thing I'm going to be focusing on is the Pacific Group, my second company, financial literacy, helping people with products and services that can teach them, that can inspire them, that can educate them. It's one thing to give people tools. It's one thing to teach them about those tools. And so that's what the Pacific Group does. The third thing I'll be focusing on is a bill. Yes, a bill, not a dollar bill, but it's a bill that is currently in front of Congress that my good friend Kate Hoffman of Earn to Learn is championing. I'm, right behind her, right beside her, right with her in terms of helping to get this bill passed. It's a great bill. If you are sort of, one of those people I talked about, underserved, underrepresented, and you fit the bill, and you want to go to college or trade school or community college, any other type of higher education, if you put in $1 into your account, the bill would provide enough funding to match up to $8 to get you to college. Plus, there's a lot of financial literacy. They'll hold your hand through the process. It's a great bill, and it's about $1 billion bill. It's being championed by Mitt Romney of Utah and Kirsten Sinema of Arizona. And we actually hope to get this bill passed this year, this calendar year, or this fiscal year, or if not, maybe the next. So I'll be very, very busy working for you over the next few months. So let's see who else is. Yvonne, how are you? It's good to see you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Uh, Hollywood. Well, I can see my friends on Instagram too. Hollywood, how are you? Miss Maine, Moisha, Karen. I got a lot of female friends. Where's all the men? I need the men too. I need some testosterone over here. In the room. Come over here. Let's talk. It's too many. I know I love the women too, but I need some men. I need some of my brothers over here. So today is a special day. For those of you who don't know, it's Nelson Mandela Day. Woo! Now talk about heroes. Nelson Mandela is one of those men that's the hero to not just me, but hundreds and hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of people, colored people, underserved people, underrepresented people, and even non-underrepresented people. He just crosses that spectrum. Nelson Mandela is what we call a legend. If this were in a religious setting, we'd call him a saint. Nelson Mandela bore some of the most intense torture and pain for his cause, and he never wavered. Many of you don't know that he was a lawyer. Nelson Mandela was a lawyer. He was educated. So talking about student loans and getting an education, whether or not you should get an education, he was a lawyer. He got his degree in, and he actually became an activist in the early 1940s. And when the apartheid, when the racist regime in South Africa declared apartheid, which basically means a separation of colored people from the whites. It means you can't use the same bathroom as white people. You can't eat in the same restaurant as white people. You can't walk in the same door as white people. You can't, ride a bus, in front. You got to sit at the back. As a matter of fact, take your own bus. Does that remind us of our country up through the 60s, in some cases 70s, 80s, some of these we're still experiencing? Nelson Mandela decided, he was just an activist before then. He decided when apartheid was instituted that he was going to fight for regime change. Now, every regime wants to keep they want to keep their power. So what he did was a concerted, organized effort on multiple fronts without fear, civil disobedience, trying to influence legislation, reaching out to foreign governments, reaching out to activists around the world, public demonstrations. It was so much he did. He was arrested in 1962 and sentenced to prison for life. Multiple presidents offered him a deal. Look, we'll release you if you, renounce those values that you've been talking about. If you say it's okay, and we can bridge the gap, and we don't have to be equal. We can make you a little bit more, a little bit less equal. And he refused. He stayed in jail. Only in 1990, this president called F.W. de Klerk, because of the intense scrutiny and attention which was brought to bear, did Nelson Mandela finally get released. Now, here's the fun part. He became president in 1994. But despite he was sort of a socialist ideology, which means a flat country in terms of economic, he retained the economic liberal policy. What that means is he believed in market forces, the market capitalism. The market should determine things. And private property should stay with private property, not just like China, socialist, where the government owns everything. And that's what, during his regime, kept South Africa as a great country. And it's still an amazingly great country. It's had some issues, but there's no issue we can't fix as a people. He's also one of the rare African presidents that refused a second term. He decided to do other things, became an elder statesman, and he started doing good around the world. He won the Nobel Prize in about, 270 different awards. That was a great man. So, in memory of Nelson Mandela, I think we all want to say thank you to men like him, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, men and women who have stood for what they believed and are responsible for us being here now and having the freedoms that we have. Nelson Mandela, thank you. All right, let's see what we got. Yvonne, I love Nelson Mandela, currently reading his autobiography. I would love to read the autobiography. I would really love to read it. I see some questions are coming in. Okay, so just to let you know, today is Q&A day. You can ask me anything, okay? Anything you want to know. Finance, investments, stocks, real estate, bonds, anything you want to know. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a business, you want to sell a car, whatever you want to know. I'm open. For the next 25 minutes, I'll be answering your questions as directly as possible. First, let me answer a question that came in some time ago. Chanel asks, I have a question about my student loan. I owe $70,000 in student loans. My loan originally was with Sallie Mae. I got a call from a third-party organization that said they could help me with my loan by reducing my monthly payments. I signed the papers with them about 5 years ago. Now there's a lawsuit with this company and they've gone out of business. Yikes. I called Sallie Mae and they have no record of my loan, but it's showing up on my credit report. What can I do? Please advise. Woo. Chanel, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. It's a travesty to have debt and you don't know who to send your payments to. So it keeps affecting your credit negatively. And it's on there and it won't go off. So first, there's many, many good banks. And look, I've been the hardest person on banks. I don't necessarily think banks, the traditional banks, are the best for most people because they charge too many fees and there's too many, and the interest they give you is too low. There's many, many online banks you can go to, but there's also some really, really good banks that give you student loans that are private banks. And so you want to be very careful. There's also some fraudulent people. They just want your credit cards. They just your credit information. You got to be very, very careful when you take a third party call. You got to check them out. Go to the Better Business Bureau, read about them. So next time you get a third party call like that, be aware. Now, what can we do about this? I talked to you some time ago about loan forgiveness, and some of the things that you can get your loan forgiven because of or some of the things that your loan could be forgiven for is if your school or it goes out of business, or your loan was somebody gave you a loan under fraudulent pretext, for whatever reason, whatever that is. So you may qualify for one of those. However, you may want to consider getting an attorney, and I know there's an expense. Get a lawyer. Who can potentially help you do the research to figure out who these people are. They'll check their articles of incorporation, bankruptcy proceeding. If they're in bankruptcy, is public information. They can write a letter and they can get information back and they can really help. So it's important for you to be able to at least track down that lender. But let me tell you something. And don't tell anybody I told you this, all right? It's a secret between you and me, Chanel. Look, there's a whole industry out there of credit repair agencies. And here's what they do. I don't endorse them or not endorse them. I'm just telling you they're out there. What they do is every month they will send a letter to your credit agency, the credit Equifax and TransUnion. You saw those debts that are affecting your credit. And the only thing they will say is, it's not my credit. Take it off, take it off, take it off. It's not mine. Take it off, take it off, take it off. Now, here's why they do that. The credit reporting agency, when they receive a notice or a letter from you stating that that debt is not yours, or the debt should be investigated, or there's something off, they have to, by law, investigate and get back to you within 30 days. So, what happens if you send a letter and they don't respond? Boom, it comes off your credit. If you can't find this lender and your credit is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse because you don't even know where to pay, if you go to one of these people, these agencies, like Second Chance Financial, there are a bunch of them out there. I don't endorse any of them. If you go to one of them, oh, you write the letter yourself to the credit reporting agency. Again, I don't endorse this. Hey, this loan, it ain't mine. Take it off. I mean, if it was yours, you can't say that. But look, if you did, I wouldn't hate you for it. If that lender that's bankrupt, that's busy with all its bankruptcy proceedings, you can't find them, they can't probably find themselves. They're too busy or too lazy to respond within 30 days. Guess what? The loan drops off $70,000 off your credit report. Hey, wealth demystified is valuable. Hope you can do that. So hope you can do one of these strategies and hopefully get back to being able to live your life without all these predatory people who are out there to take your money. All right, let's see. Yvonne asks, I am almost 36. Oh, you're a youngster. You got a long way to go. You're a youngster. I remember when I turned 30, it was the best thing in the world. I was so happy. I was finally a guy. I was like, 30 years old is, you're making money. When you're young, you're 20, 21, 22. The girls who are 21, they don't want to date you. They want to date the older guys, the guys with, with a car, with money and things like that, So I always wanted to be like that. So when I became 30, I had money. I was on Wall Street. I finished school. I didn't have a car because I lived in New York, but I had some cash. I was working hard, but 30 was a good age for me. So she said, I'm almost 36 and I've accumulated some savings. What is best to do first? Buy a home for me to live in, or invest in stocks and shares and then buy a property later? Yvonne, that's a very good question. There are many people who go through school, they graduate and they start to save. And then they have some excess cash flow. And they need to figure out what to do with the cash flow. And sometimes that creates some bad habits. Because with excess cash, you can go, get into some, expensive habits. Start buying Gucci shoes. Nothing wrong with Gucci. I like Gucci shoes, but you know what I mean. Gucci shoes. They start traveling first class, because there's a little bit of cash. Buying expensive cars, and it's always good, Yvonne, to first of all create a plan. And I'll tell you why. If you want to go from, say, I live in Los Angeles, so I want to drive to Orange County, and I get in my car. I know where I'm going, but I don't know how to get there. And I start driving. How long do you think Orange County normally takes me? About 35 minutes. How long do you think it's going to take me to get to Orange County if I don't know? I know where I'm going, but I don't know how to get there. It'll take me hours if I get there at all. But if I get in my car and I turn on the GPS and it says make a 10 on the 10 freeway and make a right, make a left and make a right and go on the 405 and then you'll get there. I'll get there in 35 minutes. That GPS is equivalent to a plan, a personal financial plan. And so, Yvette, you want to create a personal financial plan. And that plan has to have 2 or 3 different buckets. As a matter of fact, this question you just asked on here today is similar to another question that Raj asked. Raj is one of my engineers. who works with me, and he sent me an email, just like everybody else has sent me a question. He had a real good question. And his question is, David, how do you save properly? Right? I just got a raise. He just got a big raise, by the way. And I'm afraid to save in risky investments because I don't want to lose. So I'm going to connect that question to yours, right? So the first thing I would do, right, is create 3 buckets. Those 3 buckets are going to guide you through life. Now, let me step back for a second before I talk about what those buckets should be and how they would help you with investing. In adding Raj's question to yours, he said, well, how do you save money properly? Well, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you cut a lot of your expenses, right? There's a lot of expenses I've talked about in ways on how to save. Second thing is, like I said, I've said multiple times, there's no gain without risk. The safest thing you can ever invest in is go to the bank and put your money in an FDIC insured account, right? It's accessible, but you make what, 0.04%? When inflation is almost 5.5%, you're losing money because the stuff you're going to be buying is going up by 5.5%. Your money is growing by less than 1%. You're losing money. So you need your money to be growing at least the rate of inflation, which now is 5.5%. Where, actually, better yet, more than the rate of inflation. So let's go back to the 3 buckets. The first bucket should have investments and things that you need for the next 2 years. Your emergency fund, 0 to 3 months so 3 to 6 months of expenses should be in there. Stuff that you need you want to buy a car, you want to travel, you want to buy some furniture, you want to fix the siding in the house, anything you need for 2 years. That money should be in cash or a cash equivalent, like a CD. Just make sure you don't have to pay those high fees. It should be invested in a way that's secure. No risk. That's 0 to 2 years. Then you should have a bucket that's from 2 years to about 5 years. That second bucket is where maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to buy a vacation home, maybe you have some goals, you want to go back to school. That money should be invested not in cash, but in some other investments that yield you a higher rate of return than cash, but still have a level of, they're not too volatile, right? They might lose, but not a lot. But the chances are they'll make money. Blue chip dividend paying stocks are one of those things. Bonds, laddered bonds. You can buy bonds and buy them individual bonds in a way that you buy a bond for 2 years. In 2 years, you get your money back. I've talked about bonds. You're giving a loan to the government or corporation or municipality. So that should be invested in a way that's moderate. Then there's investments that I call long-term, 5 to 7 years and after. Those ones, the goals are things like retirement, college education, and any other long-term goal that you're not going to need the money for at least 5 to 7 years. For many of you guys on here, my friends, you're all pretty young. That's still 30, 40, 50 years away. That money should be invested primarily in stocks. But always make sure it's diversified. So you can do 80% stocks, you can do large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, small cap stocks, international stocks. Then you want to add a little bit of bonds, maybe 20% or 10% or 20%, and make sure it's diversified. Put in small amounts every month, close your eyes and leave it alone. So back to Yvonne's question. What should I do first now that I have Raj's question? Where do I invest now that I have a little bit of cash? Well, it depends on your goals. If buying a home is within that 2-year time frame, then you should go ahead and buy your home. A home is an amazing investment. Why? I talked last month about the power of leverage, right? The power of leverage means if you buy a piece of property for, let's just say, $100,000, and you pay $100,000 into the piece of property, you pay it down, pay it all, no loan, and the property doubles in the next 10 years, what did you make? You had no loan. Now the property is worth $200,000. You put in $100,000. You doubled your money. You made 100%. What if you decided to take 50% loan. You put in $50,000, the bank puts in $50,000, and in 10 years, like the first property, the second property doubles. Now it's worth $200,000, but you only have a $50,000 loan. You pay off the $50,000 loan. Guess what? You're left with a profit of $150,000, but you only invested $50,000. How much did you make? You invested 50. Now you have 150. Yes, you made 3 times your money. Meanwhile, you made double your money on the last investments. So leverage is very good. I'm fond of real estate, especially it's your home. I don't like investment real estate today, and I'll tell you why in a second. But you're asking about your home. So because of the power of leverage and the fact that, look, if you decided to keep renting, you're going to be paying money to a landlord. Why? Why not buy a home and pay that money towards equity in yourself? Plus, interest rates are low. On a 30-year note, a 30-year mortgage, we call it note in the industry. On a 30-year mortgage, you can get one for 3.2 or 3. If you're part of a credit union, you could get below 3% interest, 2.6 for 30 years. Woo! Take it. I prefer for you to buy your home. But I'm not talking about investment real estate. You heard me say last week that in my opinion, only my opinion, I'm a financial advisor, so I don't know what your situation is. I would have to sit down with you and help you analyze your situation to figure out, what to do for you. So a lot of the advice I give is general. Consult your financial advisor first. In my opinion, and many, many smart people, real estate is a very big bubble. Real estate grows a little bit over 5% every year. Now it's growing at 25% every year. Everything that goes up always comes down. Things always tend to go back to the normal, to average. Plus, you add the fact that the banks, who are now pretty secure because the Federal Reserve is on their butt, only give out less than half of those loans. Non-bank lenders are the ones now giving out over 50%. So when mortgages when those mortgage owners start to default after the moratorium ends in September, over the next 1 or 2 years, people start to default. Those non-bank lenders who don't have enough collateral or they're not as regulated, guess what's going to happen to them? They start to fail. So I don't like real estate as an investment, but for your home, remember when you buy your home, it's not an investment. Your home is a consumer product. It's for you to enjoy, not for you to consider selling later on. It's not an investment. Don't think about it like that. So I prefer for you to buy your home. However, this is now one of the greatest bull markets in history, what we're seeing now. So I also love stocks. Woo! You want to buy stocks? Go for it. Be smart. Do your research. Consult your advisor. But stocks are an amazing investment to buy now. Why? Because interest rates are low, which means corporations can borrow cheap and they can give the rest of the profits they make that they don't pay in loans, they can give it to you in dividends. People can borrow cheap. And so they take the excess, they buy shoes, and they buy cars, they buy houses. And those companies that make shoes, cars, houses make more for profit. There's so many trillions of dollars floating around. COVID-19 money, PPP money, EIDL money, unemployment benefits money, moratorium. People didn't have to pay debt. They didn't have to pay their mortgage. They didn't have to pay their rent. Many people haven't paid rent for about 18 months. Where's all that cash in their pockets? What do? They're spending it. What are they spending it on? Things that corporations make. Those corporations make more money. They hire more people who get more jobs, who have more spending cash, who go out and spend more money. And the Biden administration is talking about an infrastructure deal that may be as much as $3 or $4 trillion. There's more cash coming, my friends. This is the greatest bull market that we've had in generations. Stocks are good. Buy stocks too if you can. And Yvonne, the way to buy stocks, the best way to buy stocks is through your 401k for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons. 1, you get forced because it comes out of your paycheck, so you don't see it, you don't miss it. You know how money comes out? One of my friends I was talking to the other day, she said, look, here's what I do when I get money. The first thing I do is I give my 10% to God. I tithe. The second thing I do is I put my own 10 or 20% away, my savings. And then I pay expenses. Why? Most people forget to put money away for themselves. They forget to pay themselves. They pay the rent, they pay the mortgage, they pay childcare, they pay for food, they pay for housing, they pay for cars, they pay for this and they pay for that. They forget to save. They forget to pay themselves. For when December 23rd comes, December 31st comes, you look at the bank and there's no money in there. You ain't paid yourself. You paid everybody else. The first thing the 401k helps you do is when before it hits your paycheck, before it hits the bank, you've paid yourself. The second thing a 401k does, it's tax deferred. So if you put in $1,000, that $1,000 grows by 10%. You just made $100. If you saved outside of a 401k in a taxable account, you would have to pay taxes on that $100. With a 401k, you don't. That $100 and the $1,000 both grow for you over the next few, depending on how old you are, until you retire. The third wonderful thing about a 401k is your employer matches. I think 75% of employers match. That's great. It's called free money. So if you don't have a 401k at work, you set one up for yourself or do an IRA or Roth IRA. It's equally good. If you're younger, Roth IRA is the preference. So let's see which other questions we have over here. Misty asked, Misty Lemire. I like that name, Lemire. It's sophisticated. What's my name? What's your name? Ms. Lemire. I like it. Is it French? It's a beautiful name. David, I've asked for your email contact information for about 4 months. What? Unbelievable, Lemire, Ms. Lemire. That is unacceptable, and I apologize on behalf of me and my staff. You should only ask one time. I apologize. And I'm going to give it to you now. She said, can you please share your email contact information as freely as you can, as you have been so kind to share this wealth of knowledge? So because we screwed up for 4 months by not providing Ms. Lemire my email, which everybody should have, here's what I'm going to stop and do just for you, Misty. I'm going to go ahead and type it in here. But let me wipe my face. I'm sweating. Can we get some AC over here? I'm sweating over here. You know, this is a great show. I'm not going to see you guys for a few months. So I'm sad because I'm going to miss you, Darlene. I'm going to miss Tina, Melva, Yvonne, my people. Is Henry here? Henry better be here. I'm going to call him after the show. But at the same time, over the next few months, I'm going to be doing things that help you and that help your children. So I feel happy for that. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to type in my email for, what's my email again, Ab? Dave's Wealth Strategies at gmail.com. Let me make sure I spelled it right. Sometimes I mess up my spell. Dave's Wealth Strategies at gmail.com. It's under Restream, but I just typed in my name, my email address. So Misty, you better send me an email because I'll be looking out for your email. Okay, let's go to the next question. We have a few minutes to go. How's everyone doing over here? Everyone doing good? We're having fun, aren't we? Alberetta Baptiste. That sounds French. Baptiste sounds Haitian, right? Is that Haitian? Is that French? It's a really nice name. Alberetta said, I would very much like to learn about investing. Not to become a professional broker, but to make sound investment decisions for myself. Are there any resources or classes or books you would suggest? Alberetta, your question is one of the questions I get asked the most. Where should I invest? And I've talked ad nauseum about it. I just talked about investing, the buckets. So what I would recommend, go back to the old shows. They're all available. Just go to YouTube, wherever you are, and type in Wealth Demystified. And you'll see I've talked so much about investing. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I talked about the worst investments you could buy. And 3 weeks ago, I talked about the best investments you could buy. The easiest way, Alberetta, to learn about investing is to read. by yourself, not talking to a financial advisor. No, before you get to a financial advisor, you have to do your research because financial advisors sometimes are like hammers, right? And I'm a financial advisor. And when a hammer is doing business, sometimes everything a hammer sees is a nail. And so if you go to a financial advisor, they'll give you what they have, but maybe what they have is not right for you. So do your research. Watch Wealth Demystified. I've done multiple shows on here. I've taught you so many things. Use those things as a starting point to doing your research. Google it. Best investments, worst investments. How should I start investing? Google, find out for yourself. And then you can call a financial advisor. Or you can email me at Dave's Wealth Strategies at gmail.com. Henry, I was wondering where you were. Henry said, I'm reading the book of Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is one of my favorites. I love that guy. It's one thing to be good at what you do. I think he's a genius, right? Because to remember that many stocks, it's one thing to be smart and to know how to invest. He's a legendary investor. Apparently, his last life, he was a great investor through a hedge fund. But it's one thing to be able to communicate that very complicated strategies in a way that's simple and easy for people to understand. That's what he does. And that by itself is an amazing skill. So I admire him. And any book from Jim Cramer, I'm reading. All right. Let's see what else. Melver said, we'll miss you too, but knowing that you're out there doing good work for the betterment of others is comforting. Thank you, Melver. I will miss you so much. But I'm coming. This is just the end of a season. Shows typically have seasons because, if it runs perpetually, then it gets kind of stale. We need to do a refresh. The person needs to, take a break. These things take a lot out of me. I have multiple companies, right? But I have three very active companies. One is called Suchi, which is, the purpose is to eliminate student debt and help to heal this racial disparity of wealth through educating our children and making sure they don't have to take out student loans. The second is the Pacific Group. The intent is to help educate people, financial literacy, and create the products and services that can help enlighten, educate, and uplift people. The third is Pacific Advisory Group. And essentially that one is risk management. We do a lot of insurance type stuff, annuities and things like that to help people to live safer and secure lives. And so that's what I'm going to be focused on for the next few months. And when I get back, I'm going to be so energized. We're going to have this bill, Earn to Learn bill that's $1 billion by Kate Hoffman, my good friend. It's her company. Her company is called Earn to Learn, and she now has a senator. It's in the House on the Google it, Earn to Learn bill, and I'm going to be. I'm going to be communicating to you a lot of things we're doing, through YouTube. I'm also going to be communicating through Facebook and through Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, if you're not following me on Instagram, please go follow me. That's where I communicate a lot, almost daily. It's David, my first and last, my first dot, my first period, my last name, and also on Facebook and also on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, just type in my first and last name and follow me. And I'll connect with me. And I always connect with you. I will never not connect with a friend of mine who asks, especially if it's somebody who's a part of the show. So, Chi-Chi, it's great to see you. Let's see what else, which are the questions. Chi-Chi said, are there any specific books on investing that you recommend? Henry just said one. It's called Real Money with Jim Cramer that teaches you about investing. But I always like to a book is it's a wonderful thing. It's an amazing thing that two people I admire very much, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They were talking one time during I think it was a show, and Warren Bill Gates said one thing he learned from Warren Buffett was the power, two things. One is to value his time and to treat his time as, money, which means when people start wasting your time, they're wasting your money. And you should preserve if somebody asks for an appointment for an hour, of my time, of your time, that's valuable. You can't get that back. They got to have some real good stuff for you to get an hour of my time. May I give you 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, maybe. And that's how you want to think about your time. But he also said Warren Buffett taught him about the value of reading books. It is so important to read books because that's how you learn. But you're reading a book from one person's perspective. Investing is multifaceted. So I prefer if you read things on general personal finance, things that will help improve you as a person. So instead of focusing on the investing part, that's a very small part. Focusing on things that will uplift your life. One of the books that I love the most is The Millionaire Next Door. And people have a misconception about rich people. Rich people are not rich people that you think. They're not lottery winners. They're not internet, billionaires. Those are very, 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 not the LeBron Jameses. Very, 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 very few people are that. The millionaires are people like you. Some of them are employees, but most of them are business owners. They own a dry cleaning store, grocery store, liquor store, hair salon, barber shop, fashion business. But they watch their expenses, they keep their expenses low. And when they make money, they save. And what they save, they invest. And they do it every month, every week, every year. They keep saving and growing and investing and saving and growing. And after a while, they wake up and it's like, boom, I got $1 million. How did this happen? The power of building good habits. So you can read books on investing, but even more important is books on building the habits that make investing successful, building the structure and the processes, the systems that help make investing successful. So, Yvonne, we appreciate season 2. So much information to go back and watch the videos on YouTube. Yvonne, thank you. Season 2 was great. Season 2 was fun. I mean, it went so fast. We just started the show and it's like, boom, it's show 19. But let me see if we can take any more questions. We have a lot of questions. Derek asks, Derek Singletary. Hey, Derek. You see, I need the brothers too. I have the sisters over here. I need the brothers too. I see Derek is, Derek and Henry are representing over here. Hey, Derek. So Derek asks, what is the best way to convert your 401k to Roth without any tax issues? Well, let me tell you what Derek is asking. Let me rephrase here's his question. How do I take a 401k and make it a Roth 401k without having any tax problems? Well, a 401k is an investment tax-deductible retirement account that's set up by your company. And it allows you to put money tax-deferred into an account. It grows tax-deferred and it's available for you when you take it out for retirement. You have to keep the money in there until you're 59 and a half unless you do two things. One is you take a hardship withdrawal, or two, you take a loan. If you don't do any of those two things and you take the money out before 59 and a half, you're going to pay income taxes, plus a 10% penalty. And sometimes you pay more penalties to the state. It's protected from your creditors. A Roth 401k is the same thing I just described, except the taxes are the opposite. It's not tax deductible now, but when you take it out, it's non-taxable. Subject to certain rules. With the 401k, it is tax deductible now, but you pay the taxes when you take it out. So what Derek is asking is, I want to take this 401k that's tax deductible, make it a non-tax deductible Roth. Here are the rules. You can, but you have to pay the taxes that you would otherwise have paid. Because with a Roth IRA, you remember you pay the taxes now. With a 401k, you pay the taxes later. If you're converting a 401k to a Roth, you have to pay the taxes now. So as long as you do the conversion before 12/31, it's simply a conversion. You call your broker, or you call your company, or you call your investment advisor, and you tell them I want to convert. And it's just some paperwork you can fill out, and the conversion happens. A few days, few weeks, depending on who your company is with, and it just flips, and then you'll get a tax bill, a 1099. Now, when you say tax issues, you have to pay the taxes, but there's no penalties. And for younger people, I'll tell you, the people who should do a Roth versus the people who should do a 401k. 401k is good if you're older and you have a shorter time to retirement. And if you are at a place where you don't feel your income is going to be rising very, very fast anymore because you've hit the peak of your career or are close to the peak. A Roth 401k is for younger people and people who think they're going to be making a lot more money. And as a result, the taxes are going to be going up. Here's why. If you are paying, you graduate from college now, you're 24 years old, and you're paying 18% in taxes. Why would you want a tax deduction? You're making, say, $50,000. Why would you want to take a tax deduction making at an 18% tax rate now when you're going to be making $500,000 in 25 years or 30 years? You're going to retire and your tax rate is going to be 39%. So you're saving taxes at 18% and you're paying taxes at 30 or 39 or 40% or 38 or 40%. No. You want to pass on the tax deduction this year and the next year because it's low. And you want to do a Roth IRA so that when you're finally making all that money and you retire and your tax bracket is very high, you don't pay any taxes. Great question, Derek. Let's see, who else? Yvonne said we need to have wealth mindset with discipline and focus and consistency. Absolutely. Maybe I should have Yvonne teach the next class. 20. Man, she's on point over here. Yvonne, maybe I'll pass the baton to you for the next 3 months because that was a great statement. It's all about the way you think. It's all about, let me tell you something. Your thoughts, they become words. Your words, they become action. They become action. Your actions, they become habit. Your habits, they become your destiny. So be careful what you think. It's all about your mindset. Your mindset, how you think, is what helps you be successful or not. Unfortunately, many of us have a captive mindset. We don't believe. I had an Instagram live about a year and a half ago with a good friend at the time, and we were talking about the disparity of wealth and raising our people from being, relegated to the sidelines to being the real players, the starting five or the starting, 11, depending on what sport you play. And he said, it's interesting you say that, David, because most people readily assume that they will be part of the 99%. Well, you don't have to be part of the 99%. I've shown you all the ways. I've shown you how to change your mindset. I've shown you how to teach your children. I had on episode 1, and you should go back. I had an episode where I said, here are the 10 things I wish I'd known when I was 21. That was advice for the young people. Things that they should be doing now. I've taught you pretty much all the things you need to know to change your mindset and then to develop those good habits. So Yvonne, that's a great statement. It's a great statement. Let's see, do we want to take one more question? I think we're almost out of time. We are almost out of time. That is so sad for the next few months. But I'll tell you what, I'm really excited for the future of our country over the next few months. There are so many good things that are happening. Yes, we have opposition. We have, this healing. We have to heal. We have the pandemic. We have to deal with. We still have racial tension. We have to crush that tension so we can work together. Because a house divided upon itself cannot stand. Lincoln. We cannot stand if we're divided. But, our new president, I don't know if I call it new because it feels like it's been around forever, is doing a lot of things to heal that racial tension. Our country is very rich, but we have this country called China, which is rising very fast. And their principles are not our principles. They're more socialist. They believe in, taking, from, equalizing government control and taking away the freedoms of their people. We believe in the exact opposite. And we have, ladies and gentlemen, the next few years, are what you can consider to be one of the biggest bull markets we will ever have. So if you want to start investing now, it's a better time. There's never been a better time than now to start investing, to start saving, to start accumulating wealth. Because as normally happens in our country, there's boom times. If you remember in Egypt, when Joseph was in Egypt in Exodus, and he told the Pharaoh that there's 7 years of good times, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine, 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. Um, and he said, during the 7 years that are good times, the plentiful, we have to save, we have to store. So when we have 7 years of famine, we can live off of our savings. That interpretation of Pharaoh's dream is what made Joseph a star. I would encourage you to do the same thing. The next few years are our years of plenty. The economy is booming, it's growing fast, 5-6%, which is triple what it's grown the last 12, 15 years. Actually, since 2006, 2007, 13, 14 years, this is the best times. Inflation is high, but it's transitory. Interest rates are very low. You can borrow, at cheap rates. Cash flow is plentiful. People are spending money. There's double the amount of jobs available than people willing to take those jobs. You can get a job. If you're not happy with your job, you can switch your job. There's a lot of emphasis now on the fact that there's a racial disparity. People are realizing there's a racial disparity. There's a lot of opportunities for minorities, underserved, women, underrepresented people. Go out there and take yours. Do that. I've taught you all those things. I gave you the ways to fund new businesses. It's a great time to start a business because if you want to borrow money, the rates are very cheap. And there's lots of grants and scholarships available. I want to encourage you to go out into the world. I've taught you, I've given you the tools. Don't be shy to watch those tools. If you have any questions, send me a question at daveswealthstrategies@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you in a few months, but don't forget, subscribe to this channel so you can see what else is coming up. And also go to my Instagram page. Just type in my name with a period in between, David Adifeso, and make sure to follow me because I update things over there, and Facebook the most. I love you very much. I'll see you during season 3. Thank you and God bless you. Bye-bye.